Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Hopefully, we're having a wonderful start to our week out there. And we got a lot to talk about today, including some severe weather today, tomorrow, and potentially Wednesday as well into sections of the southeast. And then also, looking longer term, we do have an active pattern in the medium to long range to discuss. So, I do see a cold front on the way this week for a lot of folks, but after that, going into potentially this weekend and into next week, which I know is way out there, but we are getting some signs of potentially a pattern change back to severe weather in the east side of the country. So definitely going to, take a look at that today and discuss briefly on that. But again, luckily it is still a week out, so we have plenty of time to kind of fine-tune that forecast. With all that said, though, I think we can go ahead and get into the forecast. We'll try to make the best out of our time today. So we'll take a look at radar here, and kind of the big thing to note is this big low pressure still spiraling away off the coast of New England, so that is helping to bring some of this Atlantic moisture back into sections of Maine this afternoon, as well as New Hampshire, so dealing with some rain there, and this has been a pretty common story for the past couple days up in this part of the country, so still dealing with that low pressure spinning away up there. Now, other than that, it's pretty quiet here east of the Mississippi. That will change going into this evening, though. So we do have the chance of some severe weather today here into sections of the western Carolinas, as well as northern Georgia and eastern Tennessee. So cities like Chattanooga, Atlanta, Greenville, Spartanburg, Charlotte, back up towards even the Winston-Salem area and over towards Asheville, and as well as Knoxville and sections of the Tri-Cities this afternoon, having that chance at some severe weather. And then going into tomorrow, that threat will shift down into much of South Carolina from Columbia over towards Augusta, even up towards the Athens area, and all the way back down towards the coast from Myrtle Beach to Charleston. So this will be a multi-day event, and even on Wednesday, we have another chance of that severe weather down into the coastal plain of South Carolina and the Sandhills of North Carolina. So definitely watching the next couple of days for the chance of afternoon storms having that ability to become strong to severe, with the main threats of large hail and damaging winds here in this part of the country. So taking a look at that, we'll go ahead and look at Futurecast. You'll notice as we go into this evening, right around that normal time of 5 to 8 o'clock, expect some storms to develop here into the foothills of the Appalachian chain. So again, any of these storms could really begin to ramp up and become quite strong and intense. And this could be a multi-round event today, I think, here into sections of the Carolinas. We'll likely get one round of storms to fire up around sunset from 6 to 8 o'clock. That will move on through. And then we could get a secondary round of storms to fire off the mountains again, going more into the evening and overnight hours from about 8 to 10. And those could, continue to work their way down and off the mountain going into the overnight hours. Also today, we could get some fire-up storms back out towards Arkansas and Tennessee, western Tennessee, and much of Mississippi and Louisiana, although the severe threat is a lot lower in that part of the country than places further to the east today. Now going into tomorrow, it'll look a lot like the same. Clear in the morning, afternoon, we get those showers and storms to pop up, any of which could become strong to severe, before we do the same thing all over again on Wednesday as well. Now, once we get into Wednesday, I do think we'll have more of a widespread rain event to talk about. So to do that, we will kind of zoom out a little bit here and look at the GFS model. First, I'm going to show you the pressure depiction, and this will also show that pattern change I'm talking about. Then we'll look at the precipitation map, and we'll talk about when I think rain will move on through for who as well going through this week. So right now, the reason we're getting some severe weather in the east is kind of just this big area of energy that is kind of working down, and we're getting kind of waves of very weak low pressure to move on through. But anytime you have an unstable atmosphere like we do this time of year, it doesn't take much low pressure at all to fire off those storms and allow them to become strong to severe. So, going into the next couple of days, that will be the story. Now, once we get into Wednesday and Thursday, we'll get more of a defined cold front to kind of begin to sweep down from the northeast. And this, I think, will produce more of a widespread rain event compared to just scattered rain going into the middle part of this week before that eventually clears on through and things kind of cool down and become a lot drier, at least in terms of the dew point, going into this weekend. Now, once we get into this weekend and into early next week, I'm seeing a bit of a pattern change here of some pretty strong low pressure coming out of the west and trying to cross eastbound. And with that, a lot of wind energy, and that, combined with some of this Gulf air, could cause a return of severe weather to the eastern part of the country going into this weekend and into next week as well. As you'll notice, again, we're getting rounds of these very strong low pressures to cross the country. And anytime you get that this time of year, that spells trouble for our severe weather forecast. So definitely going to watch that in the medium to long term. Now taking a look at the precipitation map here. I'll move this ahead. Again, we have those afternoon storms to worry about for the next couple of days. But once we get into Wednesday afternoon, expect more of just kind of a line of rain and storms to work its way down as this cold front here sweeps southbound. So Wednesday afternoon, we could see some rain through Kentucky, Tennessee, the Virginias, as well as back towards the St. Louis area. And then as we get into Wednesday night, that continues to sag south. And same story for Thursday afternoon. That can move even further south into the southeast. That line of showers and storms before going into our Friday and our Saturday. That kind of clears out and we get this bit of a dome of high pressure to keep things a lot nicer going into this weekend here for much of us east of the Mississippi, especially in the Ohio, Tennessee River Valley, as well as the mid-Atlantic, before again going into next week we get some more low pressure to work its way in, and this could even come as soon as later half of this weekend, and that could once again disrupt our travel plans and bring some severe weather chances with it, and we'll definitely be watching that. So another way to show this is the dew point. Again, you'll notice this very dry air will work into the east going over the next couple of days. In fact, by the time we get into Friday afternoon, most of us are only getting up into the 40s for dew points here in this, again, really nice dome of high pressure that's going to set up. Now, if you're down further south into the Gulf Coast and into Florida, still going to be a pretty muggy mess as that cold front's not going to quite get that far. But for areas, I would say really I-20 northbound are going to be quite nice here in the east going into at least the first half of this weekend before, again, I think we start getting into Sunday and that humidity and those dew points and that unstable air works its way back in before we could get another cold front again early next week before once again going long range. I think we continue a pattern of these strong cold fronts moving on through, bringing strong storms with them, but at least relief on the backside from the humidity. So that's kind of a look at the current pattern I'm seeing in the medium to long range. And again, right now, some of us are getting really nice weather, and I think really this Friday and Saturday look really nice for a lot of us here in the east. But getting to that might cause a little bit of rain, and then also we might pay for it on the back end with a return to unstable weather going into about a week or so out. So definitely watching that, and I'll keep you updated. I also just want to take some time here to thank you all for watching the videos and continuing to tune in. It does mean a lot to me, and anytime you comment, that also means the world to me. So I really just appreciate that interaction with all of you on the channel. With that said, though, I hope you have a great rest of your Monday, and I will see you all tomorrow.